Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be looking at the Battle Drill's top scoring teams from my guild in both Shadow OD and Shadow Brutus. And we will also be doing our attacks on the main boss golem, the Crumble Giant Golem. Today is the beginning of day 3. We should be able to clear the main boss today. But let's just take a look at the top scoring teams. So I made a video which was a complete guide to battle drills, and in that I shared 2 key team compositions you can use for the mini bosses and for the boss himself. One is a magic damage oriented comp and one is a physical damage oriented comp. And for me, so first if we take a look at my highest scoring team, we'll look at the top scoring teams as well, but they're going to be very similar because all of us are locking in the same pretty much magic and physical damage comps. It just depends who has a higher ascension and higher exclusive equipment upgrade. Okay, so here's the physical comp. If you don't have some of these heroes, it's fine, but the key ones which you should be building up for Dream Realm are Corin and Merrily. If they're both at Mythic Plus, you're going to get off a lot of damage with a team like this. Then you just have Kruger in here to land the physical defense reduction debuffs to increase your physical damage. You have Lucius in here with the seasonal skill to increase the haste and the damage of your team and also shield your team, which will be more important for the main golem boss, but is helpful for survivability in these bosses too. Then Vala is the best physical damage option if you have her, and if you're going to be running Vala in this team, and by what I mean if you have her, I mean if you have her ascended. If you don't have her ascended, you can still try her as the final option, but either way, Vala is going to shine when the boss is below 50% health. So I waited for my physical attacks until the boss was below 50% health, because then Vala will be dealing much more damage, because she will then be in her melee range and it just deals more damage than her shooting far distance range. So that is it. And if you don't have Vala, then we can talk about replacements later on, but this is the key team you want to aim for, and the key 4 heroes are Lucius, Kruger for the support and tank, and Corin and Merrily for the physical damage. Now if we look down at my slightly lower performing teams, is my magical damage comp somewhere in here? My magical damage comp, oh, I did my magical attack on Odie. So I'm going to show you my magical damage comp as well. Now my magical damage comp is not the best because I don't have Elsa. If you have Elsa and she is Mythic Plus, then you should be using her here. If a hero is not Mythic Plus, then you should probably be using something else, because without Mythic Plus the hero doesn't unlock his full potential. But I think Vala still can be good without Mythic Plus. Either way, here Cassidy and Odie are the core of the team. Odie is a magic damage dealer who will deal the most damage. And you have Cassidy. When Cassidy is at Supreme Plus, she will reduce the boss's defense, magical defense by 20%, increasing Odie's damage and all forms of magical damage. Because Cassidy also empowers up the normal attacks of your hero to give them bonus magical damage. So she works really well here. We have Coco for the shielding and protection, Rainier for increasing the damage the boss receives, and then finally I have Smokey here because I didn't have Elsa. And Smokey doesn't really deal much damage to the boss because you don't have enough time for him to get off his blue aura. But in the actual Golem final boss, Smokey is better. And we're going to see that because we're going to be using that team. But for the mini bosses, Elsa is much better. So if you have her, you should use her. But if you don't have Elsa, I think Smokey would be the next best option, or something like Thorin to increase the damage the boss receives further. Something like that. Now let's take a look at the other people's teams. So they're going to be running pretty much the same team. This is the physical damage comp, which we've already talked about. And he also ran the magical damage comp with Elsa. And with Elsa, look at the damage difference. 28 billion he got, and we only got 25 billion. So Elsa is far better. And he doesn't even have, I think... Oh no, he has the same exclusive equipment upgrade as we do. And he ran Thorin. He didn't even run Rainier because Wooster doesn't have Rainier. So he ran Thorin instead, and still this got 28.5 billion damage. But I think with Rainier instead of Thorin, it would probably get even a bit more damage off. So those are the 2 key teams you want to try to build. Now if we're talking about a 3rd tier team, if you want, and that is what I have right now. I have 3 boss teams locked in. But these are the top 2 teams, and then for the 3rd team, it's going to come down here. Only 21 billion. Splash has the same team as well, pretty much. This is my 3rd team. Now, you're going to want to use whatever leftover heroes you have. Thorn is a good option. It increases the damage the boss receives, and his damage reflect deals pretty decent damage. We have basically a Mauler team here, and Shakira, yeah, Shakira is really the key to this. If you have a Shakira who is Mythic Plus, you can run a team like this because then you have basically a melee type team. They're all getting buffed up by the Shakira with haste and damage reduction buff, so you survive for longer. And then you have one damage deal in the back. Here we have Reese. Reese deals pretty good damage, and he's not a bad option to be using. And for a third tier team, this is pretty good. Scarlita is not great here, honestly, but I just used her because I thought she would be the best for me. But you can replace her. Even Seth does really kind of well in this team. If you have Seth Ascended, but I don't have Seth Ascended. Or you could use something like even the Smokey here. If say you put Elsa in the magic damage team, you could do Smokey, the other 3 Maulers, and Thorin, for example. That would be also a really good team. But this is a third tier team. This will not compete with the top 2 teams. The top 2 teams are going to deal almost the same amount of damage and be right at the top of the chart. If you take a look at splash teams, they're just the teams that we mentioned because we all like discussed this on Discord first. But his upgrades are just going to be higher than everyone else's, so his damage is going to be the highest. So that is what I want to mention. Now, as for the artifact, evocation spell is always going to be a safe choice. And honestly, for both the magic and physical damage comps, we did testing. Splash tested and I tested as well. Both of us got a bit more damage off with evocation spell, so you can run that. But if you want to do quick blaze spell for your physical comp, that could be fine, and crescent spell for your magical comp. But I think evocation is the best because you need to, it does help you survive for a bit longer. And these bosses, maybe not Shadow Brutus, but Shadow Odie is going to kill you before the battle ends. So if you can survive a bit longer, you can get off more damage. So that is pretty much it. Now let's look at the main Golem himself. Now the best teams are still going to be the same. One magical comp. And here for the main Golem, we've talked about his skills. We'll get into a battle. Or we'll first look at this. So his... which is the skill? I think it's the Colossal Sweep. We need to take a look at his information. Knocking them down. If the target to the energy beam will be fully reflected, dealing 100% damage to the... Oh, wow. This is kind of different abilities. Transforms the right arm into massive blade, dealing... Before, it would knock down the enemy if it dealt damage. But these skills are different. Charges briefly to gather energy and shoots energy beams to all enemies, knocking them down. If the targets are shielded, the energy beam will be fully reflected, dealing 1000% damage to the giant golem reflected beam. That's insane. Before, it was just your shield would protect you from being knocked down, but now you get a massive damage reflection as well. And you just need to have a shield present, and that's why you're going to want one shielder per each team. So our third team doesn't have a shielder, so that's a sad thing. It won't do that well, and that's why you shouldn't really be running a third team. I only did it so we could kill the boss a bit faster, and then I'll switch it back to my Iron Nuke Stronghold team I showed in the complete guide video. But for the other 2 teams, Coco on one team, Lucius on the other team, these are the best AoE shielders to counter the boss's skills. So let's take a look at our magical damage team comp first, which is going to be Rainier, OD, and Cassidy. So we'll want to have Smokey up in the front to try and have his blue aura hit the boss. We'll Rainier swap probably the OD. I don't think survival will be much of an issue. We have the sustain. We just want to have as much shield uptime as possible. And again, so evocation spell, it does give you some shield periodically, and so that shield can counter the boss. So I would definitely recommend evocation spell here because already it pretty much is the best for increasing your damage too. Odie gets put in a very weird spot. Okay, so we want to see the shield have the damage reflection. It's difficult to tell when the boss will... Okay, his energy bar is increasing, so he's about to cast his ultimate right now. We have the shield up. Are we going to get the reflect? The shield just wore off. I don't know if we got the reflect or not. Anyway, the thing with Coco as compared to Lucius is Lucius has higher uptime with his shields because he can cast his ultimate and keep cycling it really quickly. But with the Coco, you you can't cycle your ultimate because even when her energy is full, as you can see here, until the damage reduction of her previous ultimate wears off, she can't cast again. But I think Lucius can keep casting and casting. Either way, 4.5 billion, 4.3 billion damage is a respectable score. It costs you 24 stamina for an attack on the big boss, main boss, so you're only going to be able to get one attack off. Let's take a look at the comparison. So we're rank 3. And Valerie did his... Okay, he did a combo team. It's better to make 2 teams because then you can get 2 attacks in for high damage. And with the magic team, Splash out damage us, of course, because he's running Elsa instead of Smokey, but not by as much. He didn't out damage us, I think, by as much as the other one in a percentage terms, because the Smokey does kind of well here. And Dream is using his Reese comp. Reese and OD, magical. Well, Reese does physical damage, but he has Rainier to increase all damage sources. Okay, let's attack again, now with our physical comp, which is going to be this one. And the boss is below 50% health, so this should get off some pretty massive damage. I don't care about Kruger being shielded, because Lucius is going to keep shielding him up, and Corrin is going to keep shielding. And again, I guess we're going to go for Evocation Spell to try and have more shield uptime. But you're going to see with the Lucius here, when we can cycle our energy really quickly, we're going to be pretty much permanently shielded on our team. And we have Corrin shields as well. So, yeah. Val is always in her melee form, dealing really high damage. Already 30 seconds in, over 2 billion damage. It's pretty impressive. The boss is about to ultimate. Now we have the shields active on pretty much everyone. So that reflected. I'm pretty sure that reflected because none of us got stunned and it seemed like no effect got put onto our team. Val is getting taken down a little bit low, but Lucius can heal and also the shields are going to protect her. Corrin shields as well. Yeah, this team should out-damage the previous team. Merrily went down though, and this is why you want Evocation Spell to survive a bit longer. Yeah, it's sad that Merrily went down. Okay, so the magic comp kind of did better, but we got the damage reflect off again right here from his ultimate, and almost 2 billion damage with this comp. So not as good as the first comp, but still a really respectable amount of damage. And now let's take a look at the final team. This team, I have no idea how this is gonna do. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be pretty bad. We're gonna just try to have like Scarlita, I think, getting the Thorn Soul pack, because once she goes to boss's melee range, she might be at a threat of dying. So we're just gonna do something like this, see how it does. Yeah, but I'm not expecting much from this team. This is just like a 3rd tier team. And the shields we get only pretty much from the Evocation Spell, and because Scarlita's shields are going to wear off by the time the boss ultimates, so we just have to depend on Evocation Spell giving us some shielding, which probably won't happen, and so we just won't get the value of the damage reflect. Yeah, because now the boss is going to charge up and deal his beam, and we get stunned and knocked down, which didn't happen to our first team. Or it happened to our first team, but it didn't happen to the Lucius team. We pretty much fully protected them. So here it looks like we might be able to get 3 billion damage. Also, Shakir goes into a pretty bad spot, jumping behind the boss, because then he can't buff up my team. That's the main point of him being here, is to buff up my team. Also, your backline is susceptible to dying if you don't have any form of sustain, because without healing or shields on the backline, the boss deals AoE damage to everyone. So 3.3 billion damage. Reese got off a lot. Scarlita also got off a lot, but you could replace Scarlita for something else here. Another melee unit would be good. Let's take a look if there are any other good shielders that could be run here. So all in all, 3 pretty good damage scores from our teams. But the 3rd team is not really recommended, but you can use something like that if you want to just burst down the boss faster, because for most people, like, you just want to get 1 clear of the Battle Drill's boss. Getting further clears is only for ranking, which doesn't really give you any more bonus rewards other than your title. So yeah, and so if you can build up 3 teams like this, it can help you and your guild clear the giant golem at least the first time to get all of the meaningful rewards like the diamonds. Okay, now as for different options of heroes that we could run here, let's take a look. So Elsa, yeah, is the best option to be running in the magical comp. Apart from that, is there any other hero that could be decent? Seth could be in that final Molar team that we were running instead of like Scarlita. Seth is a very good option. Apart from that, we've already talked about the Parissa Iron Nuke team. That's for strongholds and towers, not for the boss because it's an AoE damage team. Tunisia. I think Tunisia could be very good, possibly even better than my current team, because she deals true damage when she's at her Mythic Plus. She also can reduce the physical defense of the boss, powering up your damage a bit more. So I think Tunisia, Rowan for sustain could be decent, but the shields, there's not really any other shielder for your team as far as I can tell. So I would say Tunisia or Rowan would be good replacement options if you don't have any of the heroes in the teams we have. But other than that, that's pretty much the 3 best teams currently out there with the evocation spell to increase your damage. If we take a look at our damage to the boss, we're rank 2 right now, which is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, and hopefully you guys will be able to do better in battle drills with this video. I think these teams are the strongest. Try and run them and try to ascend these heroes, most importantly, especially OD, Merrily, Corrin. These are your 3 key heroes. You can then build a team around them. Everything else is basically facilitating them to deal more damage. Cassidy needs to be Mythic Plus if you want to run her, but you don't have to run her. Like, for example, we saw a Dreams team here without Cassidy, and it was like with another damage dealer, Reese, and it did very well. Thorn, Rainier, both to increase the damage the boss receives. Smokey for sustain, which you'll probably be having built up, and then OD for the massive damage, and then just another damage dealer in here, and you can deal a lot of damage to this boss. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. That is going to be it for this one, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe because we upload daily AFK journey videos with updates and guides to help your progression. But until the next video, everyone, peace out for now, and thank you for watching.